Unexpected people are doing some pretty extraordinary things around the world. And at the moment, as we respond to this coronavirus pandemic, here in the Hunter, of course, is no different.
No, and a couple of our local school teachers have turned their energy and a bit of time to helping doctors, our health professionals. Craig Smith is one of the teachers involved in this. Tell us what you're doing.
Myself and a friend, Jason Horridine, who's a deputy principal out at Dudley Public School, we're both teachers and we're both looking at the changing landscape of our schools and everything, and we were thinking about projects to be working on, and just out of the blue we got a message from one of the families at Jason's school who's a doctor, and they said they'd been researching about face masks and face shields online, and they said, listen, we're really short in our doctor's practice. We're getting people coming in who need testing, but we've only got 2 face shields and we keep reusing them and wiping them down. They said, we've looked online and it looks that you can 3D print your own face shields. She said, does your school have a printer? What can you do to maybe help us out? And so Jason had a chat to me, and and I've got a printer here as well, and he's got one. And so we had a bit of a look online and found some different patterns and different styles of face shield that people around the world were starting to print, because it turned into a real challenge, I think, for people who like to make things, to think, well, what's the best version and the cheapest and the fastest version that we can print. So we've been, day and night here in our little offices, socially distanced from each other, but printing these shields, and they're working a treat. They're absolutely fantastic. I've been wearing one while I've been printing them, just to keep them all hygienic, and it's been fantastic.
That is incredible. What's demand like? You've got the printer going a few hours a day?
Yeah, it's definitely burning through some plastic. I'm doing a lot of, they take about 5 hours each to print.
Wow.
Which is not bad. Like when you end up, you end up after that with a really solid headband piece, and then you attach a piece of plastic, like an overhead transparency sheet, or like a laminating sheet that just sort of slips on the front. So you've got like a headband, you've got the laminating sheet that pops on the front, and that's all it takes to have a really protective face shield that in that sort of service is So after we started to make one for one GP practice, the new spread, and now I've got a bundle to send off to South Australia this afternoon.
Oh, wow.
That I'm all sort of pumping out, which is great to be able to do something while we're otherwise at home, or not that teachers are not working at the moment. We're just working out new ways of working, as things change.
So, Craig, you've got the headband part, so that goes around the forehead. Then there's a curved kind of semi-flexible piece of plastic that covers the doctor's face. It's the headband part that you're printing, is it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's the headband part that we're printing. So that's the main solid component that just sort of wraps around the head, and then just popped to the shops and got a bunch of laminating sheets, or went into the storeroom and got a bit of plastic and put it on the front.
Craig, is it expensive to make?
Very cheap. No, the plastic itself that you use to print with, it's hard to put a price on what each mask would cost, but I'd be thinking in the range of like 70 cents, in terms of how much plastic is going into the actual print on a spool of plastic. I'm posting them out, just the face shields themselves and not the laminating sheets, because that's a little hard to send in the mail. But if people have a transparency sheet at their office or can buy one, then they just pop that on the headband and away they go.
So, Craig, you're printing these 24 hours a day. For those of us not familiar with 3D printing, is it a case of like loading in a pattern or a program and just hitting go?
Yeah, it's to be honest, it's not the most complicated work in the world. Once you've got the model, which you can download for free off the internet, you load it into some software. After you do a little bit of work on the first one to get all the dimensions correct, it really is just a matter of taking one out, pushing the button, watching the next one print through again.
Wow.
That's the sort of work that I'm doing, and my 11-year-old girl here who's doing homeschooling, she's helping out across the day as well. So she's getting a crash course in printing at the same time.
Tell us a bit about the work that you're doing right now and how it fits in, how you're able to pop into the shed and press print on a new face shield.
Well, that's true. So, yeah, I do. I work for the School for Children with Autism, and I think we've always been really interested in these sort of maker projects. We've been printing with 3D printers for a couple of years now, and we've always been into coding and new ways of using tech. And but at the moment, we're all transitioning into online learning, and I think at the same time we're thinking of really creative ways to try to keep the sort of things that we do at school transferred into the home environment. And I think it's fortunate, that we have in some ways been doing quite a bit of high-tech stuff for a couple of years now that we're finding transfers quite nicely into the online space. But at the same time, we want to have kids outside playing in the grass, exploring the garden, getting their hands dirty. So it's always a balance of new tech skills and old-fashioned nature play as well.
That's Craig Smith, a local teacher with Hunter School for Children with Autism, and putting his 3D printer to great use.
How cool is that?